Okay. Hi, everybody. And thank you so much for joining us to the new meeting of Draw to Perform Online. An exciting studio visit, quite a different one with Maryclare, Birgitta, and Carali, which they are doing a residency right now in the Center for Recent Drawing in London. And we are kind of shifting between Birgitta being in the space itself and Maryclare and Carali virtually joining us. I'm with a background of the space itself there, and also Birgitta, Maryclare and Carali. It's going to be quite an intensive, interesting meeting, as there are quite a lot of things to discuss about. So I'm going to start by playing an information about the collaboration and about our guest artists for this meeting. So just a sec.
To mark the first anniversary of the publication of Performance Drawing, New Practices since 1945, Bloomsbury 2020, Maryclare, Birgitta, and Carali have been invited by the Centre for Recent Drawing, London, UK, for a 6-week residency and exhibition. During this time, they have been working together on artworks virtually and physically in the space, creating dialogues and events such as this with Draw to Perform, to open up, showcase, and generate new ideas about artist practices that intersect between drawing and performance. For the online exhibition at the Centre for Recent Drawing website, titled Performance Drawing 2021, they have selected artists to exhibit works, which have been made since the date of writing the publications. This has allowed them to return to some of the ideas they wrote about in the book and look to their own practice to re-examine things, while aiming to expand the themes of the book and push things towards a new direction. Maryclare Foá, PhD, Camberwell, UAL 2011. Hertz Offsite Course 20 to 21. Practice explores narratives connecting the seen, the sensed, and the dream. Teaches drawing UAL. Work exhibited in A History of Drawing Camberwell Space 2018, TBW Drawing Prize 2020. Birgitta Hosea, PhD, Central St. Martin's 2012. Performs drawing and expands animation. Professor of Moving Image, UCA. Works exhibited National Gallery X, Venice and Karachi Biennales, Oaxaca and Chengdu Museums of Contemporary Art, Hanley Gallery, Seoul. Carali McCall, PhD, Central St. Martin's 2014, Terps Maths CC Correspondence 20 to 21, Solo Exhibition at Grisewood Gallery, US. A finalist in the 2017 Sherwood Drawing Prize, and awarded Arts Council England for upcoming artwork development. To mark the first anniversary of the publication of Performance Drawing.
Take two.
Right.
That was wonderful. Thank you. And thanks to your daughter for doing that. That's really sweet.
Okay. Well, as you can see, there are quite a lot of things to be discussed, and I am really thrilled to have you, the three of you, with us, and looking forward to hear all about the book, the collaboration, and the residency, and the future events to come, which include in this whole project. So I'm shifting the torch to you, and who is starting from you three?
Can I be very bossy and say Birgitta should explain how we came together as a collaborative group?
Excellent.
Birgitta, where are you?
That's a good start, and I'm going to switch for the For you, Birgitta.
Okay, to say at the beginning, apologies because the Wi-Fi signal's not very strong here at C4RD, so apologies if I cut in and out. So basically the four of us, originally Jane Grisewood as well, we were all doing our PhDs together, and the three of them were interested in expanding drawing, and I was very interested in expanding animation in the same way. And we all had a lot of similar ideas, so we came together and started to collaborate as part of our PhDs and make collaborative projects. And slowly over a process, we've been collaborating together for, I think, 12 years now. So slowly out of that process came a book. And along the way, we've previously collaborated with Ram at Central St. Martin's, doing events and so forth.
And I forgot to say, of course, but the first festival of Draw to Perform in 2013, of course, the four of you participated there. And since then, we are collaborating. So I'm excited to kind of like, and looking forward to hear all the things that you've been doing since the book was published. Yes.
So it was Birgitta's idea to be a collaborative group. I said at the time, what's the point of that? And she was very persuasive and much more long-sighted than I was.
Are we talking about 20 years ago? Or
yeah. We're talking about 20 years ago, aren't we? Something like that. Birgitta, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Oh no, it's just, I mean, I could add to that I had a background in working in theatre and in film, and also a little bit in music. So I'd had experiences of working together collaboratively with different disciplines. So I was entirely used to collaboration and interested in us collaborating. But the three of you had never done collaborative practice before, so you found it quite frightening and difficult. But
yes, I agree. Yeah, challenging. Yes, you did. Yeah, you did.
Should we go into what we've been doing on this residency?
Excellent.
Well, can I just butt in? I'm sorry, and say how the book came about. Can I do that?
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
So the book that was published last year. I hosted some workshops at Camberwell, some drawing. They were called the drawing field workshops, and I invited about half a dozen artists from different disciplines to come and perform a drawing in front of an audience, and then run a workshop according to their practice. So we had Edmund Duval, who is a ceramicist, Chris Baker, who is a storyboard artist for lots of movies. What's the man called who did E.T.? Him, that bloke. And Professor Stephen Farthing, he's primarily a painter, but at the time he was a drawing professor at the UAL. So we had people from different disciplines performing a drawing, and then running a workshop according to that. And we were meant to have a book. A book was meant to come out of that. And unfortunately, it never happened because the budget disappeared. And I felt very badly about that. So I went to see Phil Sorden, and he is the man who ran Tracy at Loughborough, the Drawing Research Centre up in Loughborough. And he'd also produced a couple of books, which he'd extremely generously and kindly included my work in. So I thought I had a connection there. And I went and talked to him about the idea of doing a book. Initially, it was to do a book about those people and workshops that we did. But then before very long in the meeting, it became clear that it needed to be another kind of book. I'd also drawn up a plan of chapters. And then towards the end of the meeting, I realized that it was way too much for me to do. And I said, please, can I do it with Birgitta, Carali, and Jane? And they were a bit surprised. And I think they didn't decide right away, but then they did decide, and it was great. And the wonderful thing was that when the first meeting I had with Carali, Jane, and Birgitta, and I said to them rather cautiously, I'm not sure what you'll think about this, but I've had a meeting and we want to do, is it possible, would you like to do a book? And Jane already began to write the introduction and was sorting everything out. And so each one of us have brought to this project their own skills, and we're all very different in our personality, our ages, our backgrounds, and our skills. And it's been a really extraordinary adventure, and thank you, you two.
Aww.
Oh,
Well, that is really nice. But yeah, I'd just like to say thank you too. And also, I guess just to everyone who's like involved in the conversation of performance drawing. And I think that's probably one of our, just to kind of bring us maybe to today and where we've been from like the 12th of September to we are kind of right in the middle of a residency here, where we're kind of after like the excitement and all the thrills and painful events of getting the chapters and everything together that might consider performance drawing and how they relate to each other and all the different chapters and all of our different practices. I think it's been another nice few weeks really focusing on, I think Birgitta is very helpful at reminding me about the umbrella of performance drawing and what that might mean. And so I guess that's just prompting me to say to everyone here today interested in performance drawing that have demonstrated so many different titles of the name and ways about going and stretching it and pushing it and pulling it and everything else that drawing really is. So yeah, so thank you both, and also obviously Ram who has facilitated, and I've also I've caught back up with some of the other talks that you've done here too. And so yeah, cheers to you, to all the nice chats that have happened. Excited.
Thank you. Thank you. Also, I think it's well, before you'll start, Birgitta, I'll just say that I think it's quite a unique collaboration that's going on between you guys, and I think we all thanking you for being so creative and so and pushing forward what you're doing with this quite unique book, which is the first full book that was published about this practice that now in Google is declared as a art movement, new art movement. So here we go. Birgitta, to you.
yeah, so I just want to say that with the book, we didn't want to close down the subject. So we didn't want to say, this is what it means. We wanted to open out a conversation that other people could continue. So we really didn't want to say, this is a definition of this thing. We just wanted to say there's a lot of different worlds coming together. So we looked at different disciplines, we looked at fine art, but we've also covered some theatre works and digital works. We've looked at a lot of different arenas in which drawing and performance might come together. And to do with working collectively, we made a decision, actually, I think it was your idea, Carali, that we'd take our names off the chapters. So even though we know who wrote which chapters, we decided to offer it up anonymously as if we'd each co-authored everything. So that was a decision that we made, because we felt that even if individuals had written an individual conversation, it actually took us several years to write this book, and we had so many discussions between us that none of us would have written the same if we'd been doing it on our own. So together we were stronger.
Excellent. So I think what we'll do now is trying to see, to focus on what you've been doing up to now in the residency. And if you will be able to share with us a few of the things that were going on there.
Okay.
Who wants to go first?
Do you want to go first, B?
You go, B. You're there. You're in the space.
Yeah, you're in the space. Go.
Okay then, so just to again say, I'm really sorry if the Wi-Fi cuts out, but you can see I'm really in the space here. Can't move my laptop though, otherwise the power cable will come out. So I'm just going to share my screen and again say thank you to Ram for organising today and this event. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I've been doing on the residency. And I'll start with just a very, 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 very quick introduction to my own practice. So in my own work, I'm interested in extending drawing. So extending drawing in space, so out into 3 dimensions, but also expanding drawing out into time. So we've got the 3rd dimension and the 4th dimension. And what I mean by this is that I make installations, I make animations, and I make performances. And all of these are mixed up in different ways with my drawing practice. So that's the kind of media I work in. As for themes, at the moment, I've got a real interest in working with material substances, so actual real things, because I'm interested in the ecology of the planet. I'm interested in the vibrancy of the matter that surrounds us. And I'm interested in the real material nature of inequality that exists in our society. Then the other interest I have is getting back to the physicality of the body itself. And for me, working with the body raises issues of sexuality, of gender, of race, of all kinds of things that I'm interested in dealing with at the moment. So part of my residency aims has been to read this book, Volatile Bodies. I have to say I've failed so far to get beyond chapter 2. I'm still on chapter 2, so hopefully I need to work hard on reading that. And in the residency, I also wanted to carry on the project that I'd been doing during lockdown. So during lockdown, I spent 18 months working on this project Holes. And this has been really about exploring touch, which we were all lacking during lockdown. So this is an installation, it's a series of holes in paper, and through it you're going to see a film. And this is for a solo show that I'm having in Vienna in December. So it's been postponed for 18 months, but it's finally opening in December. I'm just going to show a really, really small snippet of the film so you can get a sense of what it looks like. I've been mixing drawing with material substances, primarily oil pastels and milk and ink for animators when they mix together, which is a very quick snippet of it. And thanks to Anat Ben David, who did the sound for me. So that was my starting point. So when I came here to C4RD, I was really interested in working with milk because I'd been using it in my film. And milk for me is this really female bodily fluid. So it sort of really interested me. So I started out wanting to make a drawing performance inside a portion of that animation, because I'd worked on that animation so long, I didn't want to finish it. I didn't want to leave it at all. I wanted to stay in it forever. And so in my performance, I wanted to go back inside the animation and draw on the floor in response to my animation. So that was my plan. So I started working with all kind of different substances, with milk, mixing it with lemon juice so that it would coagulate, putting in chalk dust to whiten it, like in the Victorian times when they used to put water and chalk dust into milk to extend it and make it cheaper. I've tried Coca-Cola and baking soda and charcoal. A bit like an alchemist, I was interested in change and mixing all these different substances together and to see what I could do with milk and putting PVA in to bind it. But in the end, what really interested me out of all these materials was chalk, and I became really fascinated with working with chalk and the really subtle ways in which it could capture the movement of the body. And to make these pictures, I did actually get naked and cover myself in chalk and roll around the floor when nobody else was there. But as I began to work with the ideas for the performance, I found out there was real technical problems with the way I wanted to project the animation. So I've now got rid of the animation altogether. There'll be no tech. It's just going to be me and chalk, and I'm working with footsteps. And this is going to be at the 100 Years Gallery on the 13th of October. Carali McCall will also be doing a performance. My performance is going to be called Walk Cycle with Foot Slip. And Claire Zakiewicz, who's in the audience, she's curating the event and she's also performing in it. So you can find out about tickets on her website. And finally, I just wanted to shout out about the fact that next Tuesday, we are actually interviewing Ram in return on Tuesday, the 5th of October at 7 p.m. as part of our online exhibition that we've been doing. We're going to interview 3 of the artists, so Ram Samocha, Adelaide Demar and Maurice Moore. So that's me. Over to the next one. Thank you.
Beautiful, thank you, Birgitta, for sharing with us. I was following your experiments via Instagram, and it's really interesting to watch it and to follow what you're doing, and it's like it reminding me back where the experiment with the film, like artistic film from the 20s and so on, things that happened there, and you're taking it one step further, and I really thanks for sharing it with us. And of course we will talk about it later on. Shall we go to Carali?
Okay, yeah.
There you'll be the last one.
Carali was sending me little messages and I wasn't sure how to send them back. But your sound is off, Carali. I can't hear your sound.
Yeah.
That helps. That might help.
Oh,
but yeah, I'm just having a conversation with Maryclare, be like, oh, are you going to go next or am I? But yeah, no, I'm happy to share my screen. And thank you, B. Things like, we have this like WhatsApp group. So I have to be honest to say that we know each other's work, what we're doing, what we have little conversations when we're in there in the space. But I guess these events like this, I mean, to say is that it's nice to see it again too in a different kind of way. So thank you, B, for sharing, because it's just kind of allows you time to think about things in a different way. So beyond our like casual conversations between us too, I do have some visuals to share. And it might also be important to say, I'm just going to do this 2 seconds. That so we're week, I guess, 3 of 6. And for the first almost 2, I was in Canada. So despite the excitement of being able to be in a physical space with everyone in terms of residency and share that opportunity, then I couldn't resist borders opening and quarantine kind of a little bit subside, so I could visit home. And that's Canada, near, I guess Huron County is the area of Ontario. And I think for a long time I had been thinking about the body and landscape and craving or longing or desiring being in the landscape and smelling and rolling in soil. So for a long time, I think that was kind of my angst of just being able to get out in weather in soil and roll in the soil. So this was one work that I have a video here, just a clip of it, of working. There is a bit of sound. There's not much. It's just the movement of it. Oh, that's somebody's dinner, I think. not that, but you can see me or no? You can, Ram, can you see me? Or you just see the video?
Yes, yes. Carali, the video stopped?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And then the next is, I guess, still going along the lines of figuring out kind of these performative or these performance spaces that I'm finding in and around home. And where it come from is a very labor intensive area. So it's farmland, it's labor intensive work in terms of cutting logs. And so this is kind of like a happenstance of being able to have the help of my mother and take some photos while I was there, along with like some little videos. I set up a little studio in my parents' barn, all in while kind of like somewhat communication of thinking about drawing and how this movement, I guess, from focusing on a return to sculpture. I've been thinking about more about the objects and the way that the body has, I guess, originally in one of my thinkings early on was a performative tool, or like this tool to draw in this space that we hold within our body and the spaces that we kind of make with it. And so this was kind of coming back to, I guess, this idea of like looking at sculpture, but then returning to always drawing. And I guess that's what kind of lands us here tonight too, is this, how does it, you know, how does an artist practice then move from drawing into performance and then back into drawing, or then sculpture and back into, yeah, all these different kind of disciplines that we kind of use the language of. And so these were kind of like drawing my space, drawing myself into space, I guess, in the landscape that I long for, or the desiring of kind of being there and becoming part of it. And also it's important for me to address the just the thinking about what home means and living abroad. I feel, you know, one leg in two countries, or I'm sure many people do at many different times. And so it's kind of just this feeling of self-portraits or something that I've been interested in, and figuring out that identity in that. And all while this is part of, and Maryclare, you're gonna introduce this probably much better, but this is while in communication, I guess, with Birgitta and Maryclare about the residency and preparing the dates and the talks and engaging with other artists too that we selected for the exhibition part of the residency. And so this was a project where Maryclare instructed, the instruction was from a distance wave. And so I took the liberty to embrace the jet lag that I was enduring at the time, getting up early in the morning and using that to use the light. And so this is using this I posted, I think, from the internet, or the Instagram anyway, from a distance, hello in Morse code. So it took many takes, but at the same time, I think this is a 20-second clip of just testing and kind of using that idea of from a distance and using light to communicate with the girls back in the C4RD space. I think it's too short. And then this is part of a series called, what I'm working on now is the weight of things. And for a long time, my work has been really about movement, or we constantly kind of try and engage the word drawing as movement. And I know Ram, you and Robert too have looked at stillness. And I think that was something in the chapter physicality within the performance drawing book of, you know, the other side to movement and this feeling of, well, what does it mean to be still? But I think I still have the the weight of putting something in front of me or taking something from that movement still, but holding heavy rocks. So I started during this time to look at the landscape and hold a bit of it. So the landscape is part of holding us, but it's this thing of holding the weight of things and holding a bit of the landscape. So this is a lake, Lake Nipissing, and so these are kind of like a little bit behind the shots. Obviously, I have wasn't stranded there, but I luckily have good family members who are always helping support me with my projects. And then for a focus that has been helpful with Claire and Birgitta, she mentioned it, of the 100 Years Gallery and the performance happening on the October 13th. So I do feel like we're kind of like right in the middle of everything, and this is all kind of work in process. But where I'm at now is this is back at the farm in the silo where I have a drone shooting down, but it's about the objects and the materials and drawing in the space. So using the silo as this studio, just testing some acts of drawing, or looking at the sound again, how sound is shaped by place. And this is kind of where I'm bouncing from. I can't give anything away what's going to happen on the 13th because I still don't know, but it's along this line of, using materials such as the latex, a rubber band that I've constantly kind of had in my toolbox, a rock. I happened to find one today that I could borrow from the local park, but finally he said he'd throw it at me if I gave it back. So it's amazing how hard it is to find a rock in central London, but that happened. So yeah, I don't know if there's any questions there, but I think over to maybe Maryclare, because then she can kind of introduce our working together in this space. But yeah, I kind of had this idea. I don't know if it's like extraterrestrial. It's kind of the first time I've really shown it, but it just feels like I'm going to slingshot the rock up and out. And I think that was the thing of being in two places, or this circular space that offers something, but I'm not quite sure yet what. But I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Carly, but give us a hint. How did you manage to get down to this tube? There's no stairs on the side.
Oh, yeah, there are stairs. It's kind of like where the grain.
It's just the frame.
Oh yeah, it's kind of cut. At the beginning of the film, you can see me climb in. So it's a bit of a jump, but it's possible.
And I can see behind you a collaboration drawing with you holding a rock. Do you want to talk about it now, or maybe after?
Sure, yeah. Just to introduce it, I don't know if Maryclare or Birgitta have much more to say about it, but when I did return to the UK, then it was great to be physically in this space with Birgitta and Maryclare, and luckily that's one of our things, is that we like to draw. So Maryclare brought the paper, put it up, and it started just a conversation, and everyone just started drawing. So I think this is kind of where I'm at with this idea of trying to hold a heavy rock, and they're kind of started out those 2-minute drawings. So it's kind of, I guess, I think it's mirrored, so it's actually for dyspraxia, it's kind of hard. Maryclare, and then if I go this way, then another rock. So I think, yeah, I don't know what else there is to say about it, but we just drew.
Almost look like a performance you're doing.
Probably this virtual space, but yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Carly, for sharing with us all those beautiful things. And last but not least, Maryclare, to you.
I'll have a go. Hang on a minute. Share screen. Let's see if this is going to work. Desktop. Okay. Okay. Is it going to click on? Oh, my poor little old screen. Come on, little computer. I know you can. Hang on. Oh no. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. Hang on. Right now. Right. Can you see what are you seeing, Ram?
Yes,
are you seeing texting? Okay.
Yes, we can see.
So I've been doing a series of works called From a Distance, which is a short series of performance drawings made for the Performance 2021 residency at C4RD, celebrating the first anniversary of the publication of the book Performance Drawing, New Practices since 1945. And I must flag up that this again was Birgitta's idea. She said, listen, we haven't had a launch of the book. We ought to celebrate the first anniversary. So all of this is because of dear Birgitta. I want to just start by saying that the idea that I had really came from a little figurine that I was given by my father. It was broken and I fixed the head. And this is actually a light horseman. And there is a tragic, sad old song called The Bonny Light Horseman, but I won't suffer you with it. Right, for the last, I have been doing a Terps painting course for the last 2 years. I've been doing it since my PhD. I've been doing painting, and I've undertaken this extraordinary, amazing course called Terps, which is based in London. And I have been painting, and a horse person or a costume person wearing a horse's head has repeatedly come into my pictures. I'm not entirely sure why. I've already said that, so there we are. I'm interested in narrative painting. I think it's because it's a costume and it's a way of hiding. It's a way of becoming something else and somebody else. So I needed to make a short action for a private ceremony. And so I decided, is this going to work? Is this working? Okay. So I decided to make the horse's head from this painting. And I did a short performance in it. And this together with those other ideas that I explained, made me think that the Yellow Golden Horse's Head bridged my narrative painting with my drawing and performance, and answered my question, what will I do when I go to C4RD? And so now this is what I call twaddle and blurb, which is the kind of background to it. And I won't bore you with it for too long, and I'll just read the beginning. I was listening to Bob Harris's Country So on Radio 2. I do love going in and out of different kind of genres, and I particularly like the mainstream and popular culture, as well as other kind of philosophical things. So I like to be free to roam where I want to roam, to find ideas and to listen to things. Anyway, the recently deceased country singer Nancy Griffiths sang the song From a Distance in an extraordinary, marvelous, heartwarming, heart-wrenching way. And it just made me think about how we'd all been at a distance recently, you know, with COVID and being locked down, and we were all separated from people, and it was very sad and difficult to carry on with life. So there's a yearning, there's a sense of yearning in it. It also conjures a kind of a feeling of loss and hopelessness, perhaps a sadness from gazing at the unreachable past, or for missing a person, and so on and so forth. There's this text that I always say, and it comes up and again, which just makes me realize that I need to read a bit more and find another text. So I'm sorry, Birgitta and Carali. Oh no, not this again. But it does reference, in a way, Derrida's rereading of Devoness's text, which says, he will not have been a present, but he will have left a gift by not disappearing without leaving a trace. So I'm thinking that, you know, when people disappear, they might not disappear entirely. They might just change dimension. And I also want to just, these feelings of emotional hopelessness and struggle seem very relevant in our time of COVID lockdowns and the strangeness of our changed, distant society. And gosh, it does go on and on and on, doesn't it? Anyway, the point is, it's about paganism, it's about street theatre, it's about carnival, you could be saying I'm referencing Shakespeare's idea of bottom, or the wise horse, or the ass, or Baba, or Eeyore, or Moomin. Now I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Tove Jansson. Birgitta, is that right? She's just smiling. She's laughing. Obviously, I didn't do it right. Anyway, the point is
Tove Jansson.
Tove Jansson. Sorry. So the point is, there are all kinds of references that come in to when I make a work, and sometimes I don't realize the references until after I've done the work. And this is the first little performance I did
at the space.
I'm not going to pain you any more than that, but that's the first one. It was Birgitta who filmed that. And then the second one, it was a wave, but just me and that, I don't know what that sign is called when a message is coming and you're texting somebody, but you sit there and you wait and you see the little dots going back and forth, and then they go away because whoever was going to send you a message doesn't in the end. And there's a kind of sense of hopelessness and frustration in that too. So then there's this one, which is called Controlling a Drawing. And so I tried my first little tiny attempt at animation, which I apologize to everybody who animates, but it's the idea of a drawing being set free of being controlled. And this is Carali. So this is me watching Carali on the iPad. If you see in a minute, you'll see a little tiny flash, and it's Carali all the way from Canadario. There you see it? There she is. So she's waving to me from a distance in light. I thought that was lovely. I thought it was so marvelously inventive of her to do that rather than to just stand there waving. Anyway, there we are. So that's that. And then the last one is so this is the idea of being waved to. And if you see there's Birgitta waving to me from the window. It's C4RD is right on the railway line. Can you see Birgitta? She's waving very royally. And then, okay, then last week, Birgitta filmed me waving from the platform. Oh, I can't do it. Yes, I can. There we are. There's no sound to this, so it's just, there I am just waving from a distance. With Carali waiting upstairs holding my bag, thank you. She was waiting behind the turnstiles while I got on with this strange madness.
From a distance.
So it is a performance drawing. Well, I'm performing in a drawing. I like the idea of taking something from 2D and bringing it into the world. I like the idea of breaking dimensions, so to speak. And I like the idea of drawings coming to life in one way or another. So, and then for my final, there we are. So we three at C4RD, encouraging, supporting, listening, suggesting, helping, directing, annoying, irritating, cajoling, persuading, confusing, bamboozling, confounding, infuriating, exasperating, amusing, entertaining, informing, educating, navigating, alleviating, de-stressing, surprising, and collaborating. There we all are.
Excellent.
That's it.
That's great. Thank you, Maryclare.
I'll unshare. Hang on.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
I just say that, Maryclare, your sound didn't work, so we didn't hear the singing.
Oh, right.
Oh, good. No, you weren't meant to. No, really, you know how bad it was. I turned it down on purpose. Could you hear me talking, though?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, good.
Yes.
That was the important thing.
The three of you for sharing with us all those wonderful things in progress, and they are so different. Of course, each one has his own world, and but yet there are links and lines and kind of things that relate to drawing and to performance, to investigating ways of communicating, and of course it is so relevant for us. And thank you for sharing with us this. I think the next thing that we will do, I think there are so many things to talk about, and I would like people to join us and maybe to ask you questions about the book, of course, and about those things that you shared with us just now. So I will go and do a gallery view and ask people to jump and to join us. Anybody that want to ask Maryclare, Carali, or Birgitta questions, please unmute yourself and join us. Yes, please. Yes, Penny, please.
Hi. Firstly, can I just say thank you to all of you for writing that book.
No, and thank you, Penny, for your review. It's nice to finally meet you. We're planning to have a chat, and thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. Yes.
I'm really grateful because I'm in the third year of my PhD, and it's really, really helpful to me. So it was
good.
Kind of perfectly timed.
Oh no, that's good. And I think that's how I always explain it too. It was like it was the book that I wish I had before I started.
Yeah.
But so I appreciate. I think I know what you mean. I hope so anyway. But yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, I was just also very grateful to see kind of an insider's view to what you produced during the residency, and to hear about how you collaborated, because I guess that's what I've been most curious about, because I've only just there's a bit in the book about that, but to really kind of hear your dialogue in collaboration. And yeah, just really, really excited about the ideas and thinking about the way the book opens out that conversation is really exciting, because it does feel like there's so much to explore once you kind of get on board with the idea of performance drawing. And that's demonstrated in this residency, you know, how you're really pushing it again, and in your individual practices. But really I'm just sort of thinking about how you communicated with one another during the evolving ideas. Like, how much were you physically interacting in the same space with each other? How much were you kind of working alone and then coming together, sharing ideas? Like, how did that kind of work, that collaboration?
Who wants to go? I mean, I can say, was it 3 years it took us to write? Was it 3 years, something like that?
I have the dates here, and it 2016 was when Maryclare proposed it at a little lunch that I had, and then the final draft with then 3 different peer reviews took to 2019, and that was in the edition of changing publishers. So
that was because IB Taurus was taken over by Bloomsbury.
Yeah, which
partly that it was a year got yes.
That's really helpful. Actually, I'm sorry, I didn't make myself absolutely clear. I meant actually in the residency. So in terms of collaborating, so it's my fault because I wasn't.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
But in terms of the residency and the way in which you were collaborating to develop these new ideas in your own individual practices, how much were you making together or working in the same space together? Was it that you developed the practice individually and then came together at points, or was it just in that residency? So did you talk about things before, you know, how did that work really in terms of what you've shown today?
Do you mean the residency that we're doing now at C4RD?
Yes. So the work that you've shown today.
Okay, so in a way you could say that we're not really collaborating, although we are, because we're supporting each other and helping each other. And for instance, Birgitta has been exploring with materials, and we've been talking together about materials. Birgitta has been very kind enough to suffer my singing and to film me whenever I've asked, and suggest that I stand in a certain way. So in that way, we've been helping each other. And Carali and I have been communicating with signals, So, but now that Carali's back in the physical world, in our physical world, perhaps we can do another kind of a collaboration, aside from the one the drawing behind her, which is on the wall. Or maybe we'll just do another couple of those, or not just, but we might do another couple of those.
Yeah, and I guess just on top of that, I think it's always almost like the residency is like a bracket of time where we come quite focused on each other's work, maybe more so. I think like we still are on the same WhatsApp group chat from probably 2000 and I don't even know if WhatsApp was around then, so that's maybe not true, but we're constantly involved in each other's practices in terms of if I see an article, then it's a matter of like chasing it over to Maryclare, or there's a real generous criticism too that happens. So it was like if I'm working on something, I think I think that support group is a really nice word to use, or just like a really someone who knows your work and maybe can kind of give some real honest feedback that I think is really important to have when we're kind of teasing out ideas. And even for this performance on the 13th, then it's really great to have some feedback throughout the process and have that, knowing that that's the conversation. I think this is kind of a time where we've like then bookmarked this particular amount of time to almost be there for each other, maybe, I guess, in a way too. And then I think that's the nice thing too, where with timing, we have different kind of schedules. Birgitta's like teaching crazy hours. I was in a different time zone. And I think that's the one thing too, that luckily everyone's quite flexible, and our patience with each other help out in that kind of way, I think, if that's fair to say. So I think in the collaboration, it's more about having like this, like a time together right now to even just like have that help with each other's practices, if that makes sense. If that's collaboration, maybe not. And I think that's an interesting word to use of how artists actually collaborate. It's pretty rare probably, but at the same time, I think we rub off each other's ideas and bounce from conversations and then share those ideas in many ways. And so that's maybe how we collaborate, or coming together to draw is a nice exercise that we do together, where we can kind of actually just have a conversation and draw. Like that's what happened in this one, is that we were just standing there, pretty intense conversations in that structure of having each other there, maybe in that way, to talk about drawing while drawing does kind of feel good, really.
Yeah, so I think I could add that we're probably not doing a collaborative work together this time, but we've got a history of doing collaborative works together in the past. And in the past, it always came about because we were in the same space. And we've just sort of come out of lockdown, and we weren't able to get into the same space during lockdown. And we all supported each other through WhatsApp group and Zoom talks. And there was times, we were feeling quite low, and we all supported each other. At the beginning of the making of my film, I was just thought, oh my God, this is terrible. I don't know what I'm doing. And I made some tests, and they were the first people I showed it to. And they said, oh, we like this one and not this one. And, it was so helpful. So I guess things changed because of lockdown and us no longer being able to gather in each other's houses regularly like we used to. And so we've now kind of moved more to talking on WhatsApp and Zoom. So it's like a virtual space that we share now. But with this residency, it gives us the opportunity to be in the same physical space again, which is brilliant.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to ask? Yes, Sylvia.
Could I just ask, Carali was going to show us the film and then it sort of went on to something else. Would you be able to show it briefly? You know, when we were looking down into the hole.
Carali?
Oh, do you, well, it's 6 minutes. Do you want me to show it? Or I could send.
I would like to, but I'm not the only one.
Okay, yeah, I could say, yeah. We can talk over it too, if you like. It's, let me find, because I did just like keep a clip of it. Keep talking while I find the full clip. But yeah, it does. And I think it was one of those things when you have the opportunity with a filmmaker, well, a camera person, and
anybody else would like to ask a question while we can get back to the film?
Okay, I think I have it actually, if that's okay. But do share screen.
Oh, I see you.
Well, thanks for watching. Thank you, Sylvia, for asking. I've never showed it really before, just to Maryclare and Birgitta, so they've seen it, but
Yeah.
I appreciate you watching.
Can I just say,
Lovely, thank you.
Thanks.
there was a question to me in the chat about the crossover of print and performance from Elizabeth.
That's for me. Yeah, I was just interested because obviously it's connected quite strongly with what you guys are already doing. So I'm just interested if you've kind of come across practices in your travels. Yeah.
I suppose that in scenography, I'm thinking about the theatre of Bertolt Brecht or somebody like that. They'd have had a lot of slogans. What I was thinking about, I kept on thinking about text though, and all I could think about was calligraphers who perform calligraphy live, and I included a couple of them in the book. And the source I got for that was Javed Kajavi, who wrote about the animation of Arabic calligraphy. And he was quoting Laura Marks. And because I was watching Carali's film, I couldn't look it up, but I think Laura Marks might have written something about performance and calligraphy. So you could check out Laura Marks.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Carali, thank you very much for sharing with us. And Sylvia, thank you very much for insisting or remembering, because it's a beautiful video, quite amazing. I don't understand how you carried this rock, like you carried it with you all this way to the top.
Well, I wish I did. No, that's just from the field, so that's just one of many. I think I spent a childhood picking stones from the bean and cornfields, so many of them are not that large, but no, but I managed to find one. I have one here in the studio today, although probably the last couple of weeks I was wishing maybe I should have put it on my carry-on and brought it over, because it is quite hard to find a rock here. I think you can buy them on eBay, but like 300 pounds or something. So
how did you manage to put it inside this farm construct? How do you call it?
The silo. Yeah, the silo. No, and that was it's. I have some. I've done some also the videos, and actually there's mainly stills too of rock tossing it. So I think it's just like this because. I do have this, it's not about hurting the body, but I do like to carry heavy things, I guess. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, so no, it's possible to carry it. So I'm thinking for the performance on the 13th, 20 minutes is probably a long time. So I need to kind of choreograph some kind of movement where I can hold the rock, but maybe not for 20 minutes. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, so the rock it didn't travel with me, but that was something that is kind of maybe bringing part of the landscape of Canada here might be part of it. So that's an interesting idea that I kind of like, but not this time. Mm-hmm. It's a sister rock.
Excellent. Anybody else would like to ask the three or particular about the new the new work that you just been seen, or about anything else? Yes, please.
I have a question for you, Carali. I thought it was very interesting when you introduced your practice and you showed your research with photographs and film and drawing, and you made an interesting comment saying, I don't really know where this goes. And in my own words, you said something slightly different, but it sounded like your creative process was open-ended. So my question to you was, when you started the residency, did you go into the residency with some kind of specific aim, like, oh, I need to produce a series of drawings, or, oh, I need to produce a film? Or did you go in it completely open-ended and the process will tell you what comes out of it?
Yeah, I think it is fairly, yeah. That was the thing I think I keep thinking too, is like, we're in it right now. So I feel like that I don't know if you're a bit like yourself, but when you make a work, I kind of like to, I'll share it maybe with a couple friends first, and then it kind of goes out, and then, you know, so I feel tender about it's still a bit fresh. So yeah, I don't know my process. That's one thing. And going into the residency, no, but I like to say yes and make an opportunity happen. And so same with saying yes to doing a performance only 20 minutes, because before, like endurance, I know in terms of I'll do an action until the end, you know, and that's kind of been usually my kind of rule of thumb of performance. But this now is new, and so I'm kind of like shaking in my skin thinking about it, of what's going to happen. I'm not too sure, but I know I miss the land, but does the land miss me is like a focus right now, and using part of the landscape. So I have a sense of that rock was something that, you know, so I'm like slowly collecting the things that might work out. And I have a bit of a timeline. So I'm using it in Premiere Pro, where I'm taking bits of my running, so sounds of running in a circle. And I think that like you kind of keep coming back to things that maybe kind of make sense of using materials that you've had in previous performances or other works, and just trying to see how they work in different ways maybe. So that's something that I'm working on like right now, in terms of like for the residency and having the performance, this 20-minute performance is the structure, and that's and then now I'm kind of working through how that will play out. And I guess that was the thing of where the line comes in. So then I guess this is the thing too, is like, I don't know if you guys feel it too, but then I know it's Claire's title it Loose Assemblies, and Birgitta reminds me we're doing performance drawing 2021, and so then where the line is and what drawing is, so it's like kind of coming back and landing it back in how might it be drawing, or how does sound create a drawing. So I guess that helps me in my process a little, if that answers anything that you asked. I don't even know. But yeah, I didn't have an agenda. I didn't know.
No, it does answer my question. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that was the thing too, of just like, and I think with Birgitta, I guess you have a practice that kind of keeps shuffling along. So I think even like the residency does make like I think I mentioned it before, like a bracket of time. So it's kind of like a key focus, but I think I'm just like pulling things that I've been kind of playing with constantly throughout it, and where I wanted to go. I think film is a part of it, but putting it now live. So where I'm at now is also projecting maybe parts of that film, or playing out parts of it live, and then having like you know, pauses and interruptions, in terms of then it being live and film and projected onto that space. But we'll see, right? We'll see. I appreciate that. I appreciate. What's your practice like? Because I guess I see some drawing materials or sculpture in there too. Do I in the background?
Yeah, I'm in my studio. This was very, I forgot the time, so I'm still here. I wasn't planning to sit here. Yeah, I do a lot of drawing, I do painting, and a lot of live performance. But I think my work is sometimes very open-ended when I'm in the studio and I'm on my own agenda, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have a performance together with musicians and a dancer, and it has a certain duration and a certain space, and I know what the size is of my work with the duration of the music, then that dictates a lot of what you can do. And then you're working more towards a specific outcome, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always improvised, so you never quite know what's going to happen. Yeah.
Maryclare, can I ask you a question?
Yes, yep, you can.
So I would like to ask you about the two separate kind of like subject, because you have like drawing or / painting, and you have performance. Will you be able to a little bit talk about those two parts, or inside your work, and how they connect, or how you work with it, work with it, or is it relate, or is it sometimes connect, or is it separate? Yeah.
Well, it's actually been quite a long time since I've done this kind of performance that I'm doing now at the C4RD. Although I remember Carali and Birgitta reminded me that I've done 2 performances very similar to that there in a costume. So I haven't actually done a physical performance.
You've done a collaboration we did with in the same space.
Regine Basque, yes, Regine Basque. I was Lily the cowboy, and then before that I was singing in the corner of the room, in the same corner that I'm sitting in virtually now, to the sounds that came in my garden. But I think I want to talk a little bit about performance and how I relate to it. I work, my working name is RNF Mo, and I use that because I feel that all of this is a performance. I mean, me sitting here talking to you and everybody in the audience, thank you so much for listening. I'm in performance with you. I'm showing you a certain aspect of myself that I want you to see. I'm hiding the things I don't want you to see. And so I'm performing in a certain way, and I'm behaving in a certain way. And to a certain extent, having a name, having an AKA, is like having a costume. For me, it is. And I find it very useful, actually. It's also a way maybe of compartmentalizing things sometimes. I'm sorry, am I going a bit off track, or is this making sense, Ram? Is this okay? So I think I first started to have other names when I was singing. I used to sing quite a lot, and I decided that I need a singer's name, so I called myself Watch Out Mary. And then I was doing quite a lot of writing and reviewing for a magazine, and I called myself MK Paloma, which is after Italo Calvino's Mr. Paloma Reads the Waves, because I thought that I was reading the waves. And I think it is true to say that having AKAs, to a certain extent, dances with identity. It also sidesteps anybody necessarily recognizing you immediately. So that gives you a certain sort of freedom and to play, really. Yeah, and I think that wearing a horse's head or a beast's head, it's come this, as I say, it's come up in my paintings. It's also, I've written stories about it as well. It's a thing that it's an emblem, a character that has frequently repeated in my world, and I think in a way it is again a form of disguise, camouflage, enabling me a freedom to perform and make things that I might not otherwise do if I was just called after a 1970s fashion magazine.
Very clear.
If you see what I mean.
No.
If you see what I mean. I hope that made sort of sense. Something Penny says, I was reminded, Paula Ray, thank you. She said, if you paint animals, you can say anything about anyone. I think yes, actually, yes, absolutely. Yes, yes. So it works both ways. If you become an animal yourself, if you wear an animal's costume, you can do all kinds of stuff that you might not otherwise do if you were just being you. If you take on another name, you can do other kinds of things, and it is a kind of camouflage. But also, if you paint animals doing things, then there is a freedom in that as well. You're not limited by gender or culture or whatever you might otherwise feel worried about. You can address things. And I've always been, I'm an archetypal mad cat lady, and so I've always been really interested in the relationships with animals. Probably more interested in relationships with animals than I am in relationships with people. There you are. So that's it.
Okay, thank you, Maryclare. I think we have time for one more question, maybe to Birgitta, if somebody have, or Birgitta, yes, do we have somebody to ask Birgitta? So we kind of like.
I'd like to ask Birgitta how your performance is shaping up for your live in real life performance coming up on, is it next Wednesday, next Thursday?
Yes, please do tell us about it. How does those experiments that you are doing in the space right now will affect the live performance in a way?
So I'm just ordering really large pieces of black paper to cover the whole floor. And then I'm going to use chalk on the floor and make different marks through movements going around the floor. So I'm working out a sequence of actions. We're going to do it for like 15-20 minutes. So I'm working out a sequence of actions with chalk and the paper and movement. So by the end of it, I'll have made a drawing on paper.
So you're going like backwards, you making those sequence for film as sketches, and then you kind of like inspired by them and bring it to a live performance. That's really interesting, the way you work.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Excellent.
Will there be any projection or film or anything related at the time, or not?
No. I've been interested in this idea of what I call para animation, which is the idea that you might record movement. So if you think of animation as being about the recording of movement, and then you play it back as a moving image. So I'm interested in recording movements and sequences of movements and periods of time, but in another form. So you don't play it back as moving image, you see it on a sheet of paper or several sheets of paper. So it's still recording a motion, it's still recording a sequence of time, but it's going to be in a drawing, one drawing, rather than in a film.
Will you be documented? Will the work be documented?
Yeah.
Okay.
In some way. In some way has yet to be completely decided.
That's what, yeah, with Birgitta and Claire, I think we've had a conversation about documentation, and because so many times you start really just performing to the camera. So one idea was that for the live performance, it really will be about the audience, the live audience that is there, in terms of perhaps no documentation on the night. But that, I don't know if that happens anymore with performances, with iPhones and Instagram and everything. And so I think that what documentation is too, I think is always a really interesting question, where the work sits and how the camera kind of, we're all editing, we're all kind of performing, as Maryclare mentioned. So I think with that, there's a really good article, actually I talked to Martha Rossler that I've been catching up on, and the way she talks about photography and documentation and the slipperiness of it, I think is really important to think about, maybe. So I think with that, maybe that's because we've been broadcasting, everyone's kind of on screen and focused on that presentation of artwork. I wonder how in the next week that's going to be something I think we're talking about, of how important, or doing a rehearsal. And I think that was the thing with live art, like performance art, it wouldn't be about rehearsing, but maybe for documentation purpose, you catch it in another time. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to perform for the camera. I want to create a ritual so that it's an experience for the audience. So I'm planning to do it in the center of the space with the audience seated all around the outside. So if you see what I mean, when you perform from the camera, it's for one angle. but I'm not doing it all to one angle. I'm going to do it in a 360-degree space. So as I said, I want to create a live event that is very much about a ritual and creating an experience.
Well, the commentation and in relation to drawing and performance and to live action and to performing for camera is such an interesting thing, of course, and it's maybe for another talk. And but I would like to maybe end by I think we're out of time, so I would like to thank you all, the three of you, and
thank you, Ram. Thank you so much.
And Jen for sharing with us this book of yours, for opening the residency to us, for doing the exhibition online, and for the long collaboration with Draw to Perform. I'm looking forward to see all the upcoming things and talks and performances to come. And I would like to thank you all here for joining us for this meeting. And I would be very happy to see you in the next Draw to Perform online studio visit. So
yeah, we'll see you. You'll be the we'll be
yeah, Tuesday.
Okay, thank you so much for this so interesting.
Yeah, thank you everyone. Really.
Thank you everyone. Thank you so much.
I was scared.
Okay, see you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.